First contact. The starship Horizon drifted silently through the inky void of deep space, its sleek hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The ship's long-range sensors had picked up an unusual signal, faint but persistent, emanating from a previously unexplored sector. "What do you make of it, Dr. Rees?" Sarah asked, turning to the ship's chief scientist. Dr. Elias Rees, a lanky man with a mop of unruly grey hair, furrowed his brow as he studied the readouts. "It's definitely artificial, Captain. The pattern is too regular to be natural, but it's like nothing I've ever seen before." Sarah nodded, a mix of excitement and apprehension coursing through her. The Horizon was on a routine exploration mission, mapping uncharted regions of space. They hadn't expected to find signs of intelligent life, let alone a potential first contact situation. "How far?" she asked. "About 3 light years, Captain," replied Lieutenant Zara Okoi from her station at navigation. "We could reach it in about a week at maximum warp." Sarah weighed her options. Their mission parameters allowed for discretion in situations like this, but making first contact with an alien civilization was no small matter. The potential for discovery and danger was immense. "Opinions?" she asked, looking around at her senior staff. Dr. Reeves spoke up first. "We have to investigate, Captain. This could be the scientific discovery of the century." Lieutenant Commander Jack Torres, the ship's tactical officer, was more cautious. "It could also be a trap. We should proceed with extreme caution." Sarah considered their words, then made her decision. "Set a course, Lieutenant Okoi. Maximum warp. But let's approach carefully. I want constant scans and analysis of that signal as we get closer." As the Horizon altered course, Sarah couldn't help but feel a thrill of anticipation. Humanity had long wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they might finally have an answer. The week-long journey was filled with tension and excitement. The crew worked tirelessly, analyzing every bit of data they could gather about the mysterious signal and its source. As they drew closer, they began to pick up more information. "Captain, we're detecting a planetary system," reported Zara. "The signal is coming from the third planet from the star." "On screen," Sarah ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, showing a blue-green world swathed in wispy clouds. It looked remarkably Earth-like, a fact that both excited and unnerved the crew. "Life signs?" Sarah asked. Dr. Rees consulted his instruments. "Affirmative, Captain. The planet is teeming with life, and there are definite signs of an advanced civilization." Sarah took a deep breath. This was it. First contact. "Take us into orbit, Lieutenant. Standard first contact protocols. Let's see if we can decipher that signal." As the Horizon entered orbit, the true nature of the signal became clear. It wasn't just a beacon, it was a distress call. "Captain," Dr. Rees said, his voice tight with concern. "The signal, it's a plea for help. From what I can translate, their world is dying. Some kind of pandemic is sweeping across the planet, killing everything in its path." Sarah felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. They had come seeking discovery and had instead found a tragedy in progress. But maybe, just maybe, they had arrived in time to help. "Can we communicate with them?" she asked. Dr. Rees nodded. "I believe so. Their language structure is complex, but our universal translators should be able to manage." Sarah straightened her uniform and took a deep breath. "Open a channel." The view screen flickered, and suddenly they were face to face with an alien. Its features were startlingly beautiful, iridescent skin, large, luminous eyes, and a delicate, almost ethereal build. But Sarah could see the fear and desperation in its gaze. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Starship Horizon," she said, her voice calm and reassuring. "We've received your distress call. We've come to help." The alien's eyes widened, a mix of hope and disbelief crossing its features. When it spoke, the universal translator rendered its words into English with only a slight delay. "I am Zorak, First Minister of Lumina," the avian said. We had almost lost hope. "Our world is dying, Captain Chen. A terrible sickness spreads across our land, our people. We have tried everything, but nothing stops it. Can you truly help us?" Sarah met Zorak's gaze steadily. "We will do everything in our power, First Minister. May we send a team to your world to assess the situation?" Zorak nodded eagerly. "Yes, please, but be warned, the illness is highly contagious. We wouldn't want to endanger you as well." "We understand the risks," Sarah assured her. "We'll take all necessary precautions. Please send us coordinates for a safe landing zone." As the communication ended, Sarah turned to her crew. The gravity of the situation was clear on every face. "Well," she said, "it seems our exploration mission just became a rescue mission. Dr. Reeves, assemble a team. Full hazmat protocols. I want to know everything about this illness and the avian physiology. Lieutenant Torres, you're with me. We're going down there." As the crew sprang into action, Sarah gazed at the beautiful dying world on the view screen. They had come seeking new horizons and had found a civilization on the brink of extinction. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders. Could humanity rise to the challenge? Could they save an entire world? With determination in her heart, Sarah prepared to lead her team into the unknown. The greatest test of humanity's compassion, ingenuity, and courage was about to begin: the dying world. As the shuttle descended through Lumina's atmosphere, Sarah Chen and her team gazed out the windows in awe. The planet's surface was a tapestry of vibrant colors, iridescent forests, shimmering lakes, and winding rivers that seemed to glow with an inner light. But even from this height, they could see signs of the illness that plagued the world. Patches of dull, lifeless terrain marred the landscape like wounds. "It's beautiful," Dr. Reeves murmured, his face pressed against the viewport, "and terrible." The shuttle touched down in a clearing near what appeared to be a major city. As the team donned their hazmat suits, Sarah addressed them one last time. "Remember, we're here to help, but we're also guests. Be respectful, be cautious, and above all, be careful. We don't know what we're dealing with yet." As they stepped out of the shuttle, they were greeted by a small delegation of Luminians, led by First Minister Zorak. Up close, the aliens were even more striking. Their skin seemed to shift colors with their movements, and their large, luminous eyes regarded the humans with a mix of hope and trepidation. "Welcome to Lumina," Zorak said, her voice tinged with both warmth and sadness. "We are grateful for your presence, though I wish it were under better circumstances." Sarah nodded. "We're here to help in any way we can, First Minister. Can you tell us more about this illness?" As they walked towards the city, Zorak explained. "It began in our southern continent about a cycle ago, what you might call a year. At first, we thought it was just a normal seasonal illness, but it spread rapidly, affecting not just our people, but our plants, our animals, even the very essence of our world." Dr. Reeves, who had been scanning the environment, looked up sharply. "Essence." Zorak's skin rippled with a sad blue hue. "Yes, our world is alive, Doctor. Not just in the way yours is, with its ecosystems and biosphere. Lumina has a consciousness, an energy that flows through everything. We call it the essence. It's what gives our world its beauty, its vitality. And now, it's dying." The team exchanged glances. This was far more complex than they had anticipated. As they entered the city, the full impact of the illness became apparent. The buildings, which seemed to be grown rather than built, were dulling and withering. Luminians moved slowly through the streets, their once vibrant skin now pale and sickly. In parks and gardens, plants drooped lifelessly. Zorak led them to a large structure that served as both a government center and a medical facility. Inside, they saw rows upon rows of sick Luminians, attended to by weary medical staff. This is where we've been trying to find a cure, Zorak explained. But nothing we've tried has worked. The illness seems to resist all of our treatments. Dr. Rees immediately set to work, taking samples and running scans. Sarah and Lieutenant Torres spoke with the Luminian scientists, trying to gather as much information as possible. As the day wore on, the team began to grasp the magnitude of the problem. The illness wasn't just a biological threat. It was attacking the very energy that sustained the planet and its inhabitants. "It's like nothing I've ever seen," Dr. Reeds reported, his voice filled with both fascination and concern. "The virus, if we can even call it that, seems to feed on the essence itself. It's not just killing the Luminians, it's draining the life force from everything it touches." Sarah frowned. "Can we stop it?" Dr. Rees shook his head. "I don't know. Our technology, advanced as it is, isn't designed to deal with something like this. We're talking about a metaphysical threat as much as a biological one." As night fell, Sarah stood on a balcony overlooking the city. In the darkness, she could see the faint glow of the essence, pulsing weakly through the streets and buildings. It was hauntingly beautiful and terribly sad. Zorak joined her, the Luminian's skin reflecting the dim light. "Your people have given us hope, Captain Chen. For the first time since this nightmare began, we feel that we might have a chance." Sarah turned to her. "We'll do everything we can, First Minister. But I have to be honest, we're in uncharted territory here. We've never encountered anything like this before." Zorak nodded. "We understand. But you've already done more than we could have hoped for. You came. You're trying to help. That means everything to us." As they stood there, gazing out over the dying world, Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settle even more heavily on her shoulders. They weren't just fighting to save a species now. They were fighting to save an entire world, a unique and beautiful form of life that they were only beginning to understand. Back on the horizon, the rest of the crew worked tirelessly, analyzing data and running simulations. Lieutenant Okoye coordinated with Earth, sending updates and requesting additional resources. The news of the situation on Lumina had spread quickly, and the scientific community back home was abuzz with theories and potential solutions. As the first day on Lumina came to an end, Sarah gathered her team for a debriefing. The mood was somber but determined. "All right, people," she said, looking around at the tired faces. "I know we're facing something unprecedented here, but that's what we do. We explore the unknown, we face the impossible, and we find a way. These people are counting on us. Their entire world is counting on us, so let's put our heads together and figure this out." Dr. Rees spoke up. "I have an idea, Captain. It's risky, and it's based on technology we've only just begun to develop. But if it works, it might be our best shot at saving Lumina." Sarah leaned forward. "I'm listening, Doctor." As Dr. Rees began to outline his plan, a spark of hope ignited in the room. It was dangerous, untested, and could have dire consequences if it went wrong. But as they discussed and debated, refining the idea, Sarah felt a growing sense of possibility. They had come to Lumina as explorers and found a world in crisis. Now they would have to become saviors. The challenge ahead was immense, but as Sarah looked at her team, human and Luminian alike, she knew they were up to the task. The race to save Lumina had begun. Collaboration and hope. As the twin suns of Lumina rose, casting a soft, ethereal glow across the landscape, the combined team of humans and Luminians gathered in the central research facility. The air was thick with tension and anticipation as Dr. Rees prepared to present his plan. "Ladies and gentlemen, Luminians and humans," he began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "What we're facing is unprecedented. A metaphysical virus that feeds on the very life force of a planet. Our conventional methods are useless against it, but I believe we have a solution." He activated a holographic display showing a complex molecular structure. "This is a nanobot we've been developing on Earth. It's designed to repair and enhance biological systems at the microscopic level. I propose we modify these nanobots to interact with the essence of Lumina. A murmur ran through the crowd. Zorok stepped forward, her skin shimmering with a mix of hope and concern. You believe these tiny machines can combat the illness? Dr. Reeves nodded. If we can program them correctly, yes. They could potentially neutralize the virus and repair the damage it's caused to the essence. But there's a catch. He paused, his expression grave. The nanobots need a host. Someone with a strong connection to the essence to guide them and distribute them throughout the planet's energy network. The implications hung heavy in the air. Using a living being as a conduit for the nanobots was risky, potentially fatal. Captain Chen spoke up. What are the risks to the host? Dr. Reeves sighed. Significant. The process would put an enormous strain on their system. There's a chance they might not survive. A tense silence fell over the room. Then a voice spoke up. I will do it. All eyes turned to the speaker. It was Lyra, a young Luminian scientist who had been working closely with the human team. Her skin pulsed with determination and fear. Lyra, no, Zorok protested. You're too valuable to our people. We can't risk losing you. But Lyra stood firm. Our entire world is at risk, First Minister. If there's a chance to save it, I must take it. My connection to the essence is strong. I can guide these nanobots. Captain Chen studied the young Luminian, seeing the resolve in her luminous eyes. Are you sure about this, Lyra? We won't proceed without your full consent. Lyra nodded. I am sure, Captain. This is my world, my people. I would give my life to save them. With the decision made, the team threw themselves into preparation. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Dr. Reeves and his team worked tirelessly to modify the nanobots, integrating what they had learned about the essence into the programming. Luminian scientists shared their knowledge of their world's unique energy systems, helping to refine the process. Lieutenant Torres oversaw the construction of a special chamber where the procedure would take place. It was designed to amplify Lyra's connection to the essence, creating a conduit through which the nanobots could spread across the planet. As the preparations continued, Captain Chen noticed a growing bond between her crew and the Luminians. Despite their differences, they were united in their goal to save this beautiful, dying world. She saw her tactical officer, Torres, deep in conversation with a Luminian engineer, their hands moving animatedly as they discussed shield harmonics. Dr. Reeves worked side by side with Lyra, their minds melding as they fine-tuned the nanobot programming. One evening, as the work wound down for the day, Sarah found Lyra standing alone on a balcony, gazing out at the fading light of the twin suns. The young Luminian's skin was a swirl of colors, reflecting her tumultuous emotions. Are you all right, Lyra? Sarah asked gently. Lyra turned, offering a small smile. I am nervous, Captain, but also hopeful. Your people have given us a chance we didn't have before. Sarah nodded, understanding the weight of responsibility on the young scientist's shoulders. What you're doing is incredibly brave, Lyra. I want you to know that we'll do everything in our power to ensure your safety. Lyra's skin pulsed with gratitude. Thank you, Captain. But even if I don't survive, it will be worth it to save my world. Can you understand that? Sarah thought of Earth, of the beauty and diversity of her own planet. She thought of the lengths she would go to protect it. Yes, she said softly. I can understand that completely. As they stood there, watching the stars emerge in the alien sky, Sarah felt a profound sense of connection. They came from different worlds, had evolved in vastly different ways, but in this moment, they were united by a common purpose and a shared love for the wonders of the universe. The day of the procedure arrived all too quickly. The research facility was a hive of activity as final preparations were made. Dr. Reeves ran last-minute diagnostics on the nanobots, while Lieutenant Torres double-checked the safety protocols of the chamber. Lyra, dressed in a simple white garment, said her goodbyes to her fellow Luminians. There were no words spoken, but the emotions were clear in the vibrant colors that rippled across their skin. As Lyra stepped into the chamber, she turned to Captain Chen. "Thank you," she said simply, "for coming to our aid, for giving us hope." Sarah nodded, her throat tight with emotion. "Thank you for your courage, Lyra. We're all with you." The chamber door closed, and the procedure began. The air crackled with energy as the nanobots were introduced into Lyra's system. On the monitors, they could see the tiny machines spreading through her body, connecting with the essence that flowed through her. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then suddenly, Lyra's body arched, her skin blazing with light. The chamber filled with a brilliant, pulsing energy that spread outward, rippling across the landscape. As the humans and Luminians watched in awe, the wave of energy swept across the planet. Withered plants straightened and bloomed. The dull patches on the land began to glow with renewed vitality. In the medical wards, the sick began to stir, their skin regaining its luster. Hope blossomed in every heart as they witnessed the rebirth of Lumina. But in the chamber, Lyra's life hung in the balance, her body a conduit for a power beyond imagining. The fate of a world rested on her shoulders and on the ingenuity and determination of two species united in a common cause. As the energy wave reached the far side of the planet, completing its global circuit, everyone held their breath. The next few moments would determine whether their desperate gamble had paid off, whether Lumina would live or die, and whether Lyra's sacrifice would prove to be in vain. The climax of their efforts was at hand, and the universe itself seemed to pause, waiting to see if life would triumph over oblivion. The risky solution. The chamber housing Lyra pulsed with an otherworldly light, the energy radiating from within so intense that it was almost painful to look at directly. Captain Chen, Dr. Reeves, and the others watched the monitors with bated breath, their faces a mixture of hope and fear. "Vital signs are erratic," Dr. Reeves reported, his voice tense. "The strain on her system is immense." On the screens, they could see the nanobots spreading throughout Lumina's ecosystem. Everywhere they touched, life seemed to reawaken. Forests that had been dull and lifeless burst into vibrant color. Rivers that had slowed to a trickle began to flow with renewed vigor. But at what cost? Inside the chamber, Lyra's body arched in pain, her skin flickering with rapid changes of color. She had become a living conduit for the planet's essence, channeling an immense amount of energy through her fragile form. "We need to stop this," Zorak said, her voice trembling. "We're losing her." Captain Chen looked at Dr. Reeves. "Can we extract her safely?" The scientist shook his head. "If we interrupt the process now, we risk destabilizing the entire system. The cure could become worse than the disease." It was an impossible situation. To save Lumina, they might have to sacrifice Lyra. The weight of the decision pressed down on Sarah's shoulders like a physical force. Suddenly, an alarm blared. "Energy spike." Lieutenant Torres called out. "Something's happening." The chamber began to vibrate, the light within growing even brighter. Cracks appeared in the reinforced walls, energy seeping through like liquid fire. "It's overloading," Dr. Reeves shouted over the noise. "The essence, it's too much for the chamber to contain." In that moment, Captain Chen made a decision. "Open the chamber," she ordered. "But Captain," Torres protested, "the energy release could kill us all." Sarah met his gaze steadily. "If we don't, we lose Lyra and possibly the entire planet. Open it. Now." As Torres moved to comply, Sarah turned to the others. "Everyone, brace yourselves. This could get rough." The chamber door slid open with a hiss, and a wave of pure energy burst forth. It washed over them like a tsunami, knocking them off their feet. Sarah felt as if every cell in her body was on fire, vibrating with an alien power she could barely comprehend. Through the haze of light and pain, she saw Lyra rise from the chamber. The young Luminian's body was suspended in mid-air, her form barely visible within a cocoon of swirling energy. Her eyes, when they opened, blazed with the light of 1,000 stars. When Lyra spoke, her voice echoed with power. I see it now, she said, her words resonating on a level beyond mere sound. I understand. Before anyone could react, Lyra shot upward, passing through the ceiling as if it weren't there. They rushed to the windows, watching in awe as she soared into the sky, trailing streamers of light behind her. What's happening? Zara asked, her voice filled with wonder and fear. Dr. Rees, struggling to his feet, checked his instruments. The nanobots, they've integrated with her completely. She's become a part of the planet's essence. They watched as Lyra rose higher and higher, becoming a point of light in the sky. Suddenly, she exploded in a burst of radiance that lit up the entire world. Waves of energy rippled across the planet's surface, and everywhere they touched, life flourished. In the cities, the sick rose from their beds, their vitality restored. In the forests, trees grew and bloomed at an incredible rate. The very air seemed cleaner, filled with a vibrant energy that invigorated all who breathed it. As the light faded, they saw something falling from the sky. Captain Chen didn't hesitate. "Taurus with me," she shouted, rushing out of the building. They reached the landing site just as Lyra touched down. The young Luminian looked different. Her skin shimmered with an inner light, and her eyes held a depth of knowledge that hadn't been there before. "Lyra," Zarok approached cautiously. "Are you all right?" Lyra smiled, and it was like watching a star being born. "I am more than all right, First Minister. I am everything." She turned to the humans. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with genuine warmth. "Your nanobots didn't just cure our world. They helped me ascend. I am now one with the essence, able to protect and nurture Lumina in ways I never could before." Captain Chen stepped forward. "What does this mean for your people, Lyra?" "It means a new beginning," Lyra replied. "The illness is gone, purged from every corner of our world. But more than that, we now have a deeper understanding of the essence. We can work with it, guide it, in ways we never could before." As the implications of what had happened sank in, a feeling of joy and triumph swept through the group. They had done more than save a world. They had elevated it, opened up new possibilities for growth and understanding. Dr. Rees, his scientific curiosity piqued, couldn't help but ask, "Lyra, the nanobots, are they still active within you?" She nodded. "They are a part of me now, integrated with the essence itself. Your technology and our energy have become one." The potential implications of this merger of human technology and Luminian energy were staggering. It opened up possibilities that neither species had dreamed of before. As the news of their success spread, celebrations broke out across Lumina. The planet, so recently on the brink of death, now pulsed with renewed life and vigor. Captain Chen looked at her team, seeing the pride and wonder on their faces. They had come to Lumina as explorers and saviors. They would leave as friends, having forged a bond between their species that transcended the vast distances of space. But as the initial euphoria began to fade, new questions arose. How would this transformation affect Lumina's place in the galaxy? What responsibilities did Earth now bear, having so drastically altered the course of an alien civilization? And what other wonders, or dangers, might be waiting for them among the stars? As the twin suns of Lumina set, painting the sky in hues of gold and purple, Sarah knew that this was not an end, but a beginning. A new chapter in the story of both their peoples, and perhaps in the story of life itself in the vast expanse of the universe. Sacrifice and triumph. In the days that followed the miraculous transformation of Lumina, both humans and Luminians worked tirelessly to understand the full implications of what had occurred. The merger of Earth's nanotechnology with Lumina's essence had created something entirely new, a hybrid of science and energy that defied conventional understanding. Captain Sarah Chen found herself in countless meetings with Luminian leaders, Earth's officials via long-range communication, and her own crew. The magnitude of their actions was becoming clear, and with it came a host of new challenges and responsibilities. One morning, as Sarah stood on a balcony overlooking the now thriving capital city, she was joined by Zarok. The First Minister's skin shimmered with a mix of colors that Sarah had come to recognize as a blend of joy and concern. "Your people have given us a great gift, Captain," Zorak said, her voice soft. "But I fear it may come at a cost we do not yet understand." Sarah nodded, understanding the weight behind those words. "We've changed the very nature of your world, Minister. It's a responsibility we don't take lightly." As they spoke, a figure appeared in the sky above them. Lara, now more energy than physical form, descended to join them. Her presence brought with it a palpable sense of power and serenity. "We stand at a crossroads," Lara said, her voice echoing with the resonance of the essence. "The merging of our energies has opened doorways we never knew existed, but with great power comes great danger." Dr. Rees, who had been analyzing data nearby, approached with a concerned look on his face. "We've detected unusual energy signatures across the planet," he reported. "It seems the nanobots aren't just repairing damage, they're evolving, creating new forms of life." This news sent a ripple of unease through the group. The implications were staggering. Had they inadvertently set in motion a chain of events that could reshape the very fabric of life on Lumina? As if in answer to their unspoken questions, the ground beneath them began to tremble. In the distance, they saw a mountain, one that had stood silent for millennia, begin to move. It wasn't an earthquake. The mountain itself was coming to life, reshaping itself into a colossal sentient being. "By all that's holy," whispered Taurus, who had just arrived on the scene. "What have we done?" Lara's form pulsed with intensity. "The essence is awakening," she said, her voice filled with awe and a touch of fear. "The nanobots have given it a level of consciousness it never had before. Lumina itself is coming alive." As they watched, more of the landscape began to shift and change. Trees uprooted themselves, forming ambulatory groves. Lakes rose up in great waterspouts, taking on shapes that seemed almost sentient. The very sky above them swirled with patterns that spoke of a newfound awareness. Panic began to spread among the Luminians. This was far beyond anything they had ever experienced or imagined. The gift of healing had become something far more complex and potentially dangerous. Captain Chen knew she had to act quickly. "Dr. Rees," she called out, "is there any way to contain this? To slow down the evolution?" The scientist shook his head, his eyes wide with a mix of terror and fascination. "The process has gone beyond our control, Captain. The nanobots have merged so completely with the essence that they're now one and the same. We can't stop it without potentially destroying the entire planet." Sarah felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on her. They had come to save this world, and now they might be witness to its complete transformation or its destruction. Lyra, sensing the turmoil around her, rose higher into the air. Her form began to pulse with an intense light. "There may be a way," she said, her voice resonating with power, "but it will require a sacrifice." All eyes turned to her, a mix of hope and dread on every face. "The nanobots respond to consciousness, to will," Lyra explained. "If I merge myself completely with the essence, become one with Lumina itself, I may be able to guide this evolution, to shape it into something sustainable." "Lyra, no," Zorak cried out. "We've already asked too much of you. This could destroy you completely." But Lyra's form only brightened. "This is why I was chosen," she said softly. "This is my purpose, to be the bridge between what was and what could be." Before anyone could protest further, Lyra began to rise higher into the sky. Her form expanded, spreading out like a web of light across the entire planet. As they watched, her consciousness seemed to touch every part of Lumina, from the deepest oceans to the highest peaks. The chaos below began to subside. The mountain that had come to life settled back into a new, more stable form. The ambulatory groves rooted themselves once more, though their leaves now shimmered with a new awareness. The sentient waterspouts gently lowered themselves back into their lakes, though the waters continued to move with purpose. As Lyra's energy spread, a sense of harmony began to descend upon Lumina. The wild evolution tempered, guided by her will and her deep love for her homeworld. The nanobots, once foreign invaders, became true partners in a grand dance of creation and balance. Hours passed as the transformation continued. The humans and Luminians could only watch in awe as their world reshaped itself into something new, something that bridged the gap between the organic and the technological, the physical and the energetic. Finally, as the twin suns of Lumina began to set, Lyra's energy began to coalesce once more. She descended from the sky, her form now a swirling vortex of light and color. When she spoke, her voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "It is done," she said, her words filled with both joy and sorrow. "Lumina is reborn. The essence and the nanobots are now in perfect harmony, guided by the collective will of all life on this world." As the implications of her words sank in, a mix of emotions swept through the gathered crowd. They had witnessed a miracle, a transformation beyond anything they could have imagined, but the cost had been high. Lyra's form flickered, and for a moment, they could see the echo of the young scientist she had once been. "I am Lumina now," she said softly, "and Lumina is me. We are one, and we will endure." With those final words, Lyra's form dissolved into motes of light that spread across the land, sinking into the soil, the water, the air itself. She had become one with the planet, a guiding consciousness that would shape Lumina's future for eons to come. As night fell, Captain Chen looked out over the transformed world, her heart heavy with the weight of what they had witnessed and what they had lost. They had come to save a dying planet and had instead midwifed the birth of something entirely new. The implications of what had occurred here would resonate across the galaxy. Humanity and the Luminians were now bound together by bonds deeper than mere alliance. They had reshaped a world together, and in doing so, had opened up possibilities that would change both their societies forever. As the stars came out, twinkling in Lumina's now sentient sky, Sarah Chen knew that their journey was far from over. This was not an ending, but a beginning, the dawn of a new era of exploration, discovery, and coexistence with the wonders and terrors of a universe far stranger and more marvelous than they had ever imagined. A new future. The weeks following Lyra's sacrifice and Lumina's transformation were a whirlwind of activity, discovery, and adjustment. Captain Sarah Chen found herself at the center of a diplomatic maelstrom, mediating between Earth's governments, Luminian leadership, and the newly sentient planet itself. Communication with Lumina, or Lyra, as many still thought of the planet's new consciousness, was a challenge unlike any they had faced before. Dr. Reeves and his team worked tirelessly to develop new interfaces that could interpret the complex energy patterns that now served as the planet's voice. One morning, as the twin suns rose over the transformed landscape, Sarah stood with Zorok and Dr. Reeves in a newly grown structure, a living building that pulsed with the planet's energy. "We've managed to establish a stable communication link," Dr. Reeves announced, his eyes alight with excitement. "We can now converse directly with Lumina's consciousness." As if on cue, the walls of the structure began to shimmer, and a familiar voice filled the air. "Greetings, friends," Lyra/Lumina said, her tone warm but somehow vaster than before. "I sense your questions, your concerns. Speak, and I will answer as best I can." Sarah stepped forward. "Lyra, or should I say Lumina, we need to understand what this transformation means for your people, for Earth, for the galaxy at large. The power you now possess, it's beyond anything we've encountered." The room pulsed with soft light as Lumina considered the question. "What has happened here is indeed unprecedented," the planet consciousness replied. "I am no longer simply Lyra, nor am I only Lumina. I am the synthesis of organic life, technological innovation, and cosmic energy. The possibilities before us are infinite." Zorok spoke next, her skin shimmering with a mix of awe and apprehension. "But what of our people? What role do we play in this new existence?" "You are my children," Lumina answered, the walls rippling with affection. "All life on this world is part of me, yet also distinct. Your role is to explore, to grow, to help shape the path forward. We are entering an age of co-creation. As the implications of this sank in, Dr. Rees couldn't contain his scientific curiosity. The nanobots, they've evolved far beyond their original programming. Are they still separate entities, or have they become part of your fundamental structure? They are me, and I am them, Lumina replied. The distinction between organic and artificial, between energy and matter, has blurred. We are forging a new path of existence. The conversation continued for hours, touching on topics ranging from the philosophical to the practical. It became clear that Lumina was no longer just a planet. It was a living laboratory of evolution and innovation, a testament to the unforeseen consequences of first contact and intervention. As the meeting concluded, Sarah found herself standing alone on a balcony, gazing out at the ever-changing landscape. The once familiar forests now shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, communicating in a visual language she could only begin to comprehend. In the distance, mountains reshaped themselves slowly, adapting to the needs of the ecosystem in real time. She was joined by Lieutenant Torres, who had been overseeing the security protocols for their extended mission. "It's beautiful," he said softly, "but it's also terrifying. We came here to save a world, and we've created— what? A god." Sarah shook her head. "Not a god, Jack. Something new. Something we don't have a name for yet. And that's what scares people back on Earth." Indeed, the reports from home had been a mix of wonder and panic. Some hailed the transformation of Lumina as the dawn of a new age of galactic cooperation and advancement. Others saw it as a potential threat, a power that could easily overwhelm humanity if it chose to. As if sensing her thoughts, Lumina's voice drifted on the wind. "Your fears are understandable, but unnecessary. My evolution is not a threat, but an opportunity. Together, we can explore realms of science and spirituality that neither of our species could have reached alone." Sarah nodded, feeling a mix of hope and trepidation. But where do we go from here? How do we move forward in a galaxy where the very nature of life and consciousness can be so fundamentally altered? The answer came not in words, but in a vision that blossomed in her mind. She saw a future where humans and Luminians worked side by side, exploring the stars in ships grown from Lumina's living technology. She glimpsed worlds transformed, deserts blooming with life, dying planets renewed. But she also saw the challenges, the ethical dilemmas, the fear of the unknown, the potential for conflict with those who would seek to exploit this new power. As the vision faded, Sarah understood that their journey was far from over. The transformation of Lumina was not an endpoint, but a beginning. It was the first step on a path that would reshape their understanding of life, of consciousness, of their place in the cosmos. In the days that followed, preparations began for a new phase of cooperation between Earth and Lumina. Scientific exchanges were established, with human researchers eagerly studying the blending of organic and technological life. Luminian philosophers and Earth's theologians engaged in deep discussions about the nature of consciousness and the role of sentient planets in the universe. But perhaps most importantly, a new framework for galactic exploration and first contact was being forged. The events on Lumina had shown the profound impact that intervention could have, for better or worse. It was a lesson that would shape humanity's approach to the stars for generations to come. As the Horizon prepared for its journey back to Earth, carrying with it data, samples, and stories that would change their world forever, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, gazing at the shimmering sphere of Lumina below. "Are we ready for this?" she wondered aloud. "Are we ready for a future where the lines between life and technology, between consciousness and cosmos, are no longer clear?" The ship's computer chimed softly, and a message appeared on the screen. It was from Lumina, a final farewell and a promise. "You came to us as saviors and became creators. The path ahead is uncertain, filled with wonders and dangers we cannot foresee. But know this, you are not alone. The stars are alive with possibilities, and together we will shape the destiny of galaxies. Safe journey, friends, until we meet again among the stars." As the Horizon broke orbit, its crew carrying the weight of discovery and responsibility, Sarah knew that they were leaving behind more than a transformed world. They were leaving behind old limitations, old fears, and old definitions of what was possible. The universe, it seemed, was vaster and more wondrous than they had ever dreamed, and humanity, for better or worse, had taken its first real steps into that infinite cosmos. The journey home would be long, but the true voyage, the exploration of this new frontier of existence, was just beginning.